My Sweet Audrina, Part 2, I Take the Arden. In a small town in North Carolina where the law permitted couples to be married on the same day they took out a marriage lesson, Arden and I were wedded by a fat, balding justice of the peace, while his plain-looking, skinny wife played atrocious wedding music on a worn-out organ. When the brief ceremony was over, she sang, without our request, I love you truly. Sylvia perched restlessly on what looked like a bridge chair, swinging her feet as she played with the crystal prisms and babbled incessantly to herself. After suddenly she found her voice and was going to use it, even if she couldn't say meaningful words. Or was she trying to sing? It was difficult to concentrate on her vows. In a few years we'll do it all over again in the proper way, promised Arden as we headed south toward a famous beach and a fine hotel. You look so pretty in that velvet suit, it matches your eyes. You have such wonderful eyes, so deep. I wonder if ever in a million years I will have time to find out all your secrets. Uneasily I fidgeted. I have no secrets. By nightfall we were registered in the hotel. Soon we were in the dining room, where all the guests stared at Sylvia shoving food into her wide-open mouth without benefit of coultry. I've been working on that too, I said with apology to Arden. Sooner or later she'll catch on. He smiled and said that we both teach Sylvia how to be the perfect lady. I was glad dinner took a long time. Only too soon would come the time I dreaded most. Try as I would, that dark, fugitive memory of the wet, woodsy day kept flashing through my eyes. Sex had killed the first Audrina, and it was my wedding night. Arden wouldn't hurt me, I said again to reassure myself. It wouldn't be awful with him. The pain and the terror and the ugliness all belonged to that crazy rocking chair dream of the first Audrina. It didn't belong in my life, with a wedding certificate in my purse. Arden was wonderfully considerate, tolerant of Sylvia, as he studiously tried to be romantic with me. A nearly impossible task. I felt sorry for him as he tried so hard. He'd rented a double suite of rooms with a connecting door so Sylvia could have her own bathroom, and in her bedroom I slowly, painstakingly did what I had to do. When I tucked her into the wide bed, I gave her strict orders to stay in bed or else. The last thing I did was put half a glass of water on the nightstand. Drink as little as possible so you won't have an accident during the night. I kissed her and reluctantly withdrew when she drifted into sleep, still clutching the crystal prisms. In the bedroom Arden and I were to share. He paced the floor impatiently while I took an hour-long tub bath and shampooed my hair. Next, I rolled it on curlers, used my hairdryer, creamed my face, and while my hair finished drying, I removed my nail polish and did my nails all over again. My toenails, too. Now that my hair was thoroughly dry, I had to wait for my nails to dry as well. When they seemed solid enough, I carefully took out the curlers and brushed the tight curls into loose, soft waves. I sprayed on cologne and puffed on talcum, and finally dropped a fancy nightgown down over my head. Stupid. I was calling myself for being afraid to go to my husband. I tugged at the revealing nightgown Billy had given me on my last birthday, wishing it weren't so transparent, though I guess she'd given it to me for just this reason. It had a matching peignoir violet with creamy lace that wasn't placed to conceal anything. When I'd finished every last detail I could think of, I stood on the edge of the bathtub and just stared at the closet door, dreading to open it and go through. I kept seeing Mama as I sat there, so much like I looked, only older. I thought of Papa and the belt he used for a whip. I envisioned again all that had happened to the first Audrina that awful day in the rain when she'd been found dead under the golden rain tree. A child raped. It wasn't fair or right. I began to tremble, and beads of sweat came to dampen my armpits despite the deodorant I wore. I saw Vera rolling about on the floor of Lamar Rinsdale in the violent way he'd taken her, like a rutting animal. I couldn't go through with it. I didn't want to go through with it. Standing, I began to unfasten my nightgown. I couldn't let him see me in this bit of nothing. Audrina, I cried Arden, what's taking you so long? You've been in there for hours. Give me 5 minutes, I answered nervously. Already I'd promised him that 2 times before. I fiddled with my hair, the nightgown, taking it off, thinking about putting on my panties and getting fully dressed again. I began to chew on my fingernails, a habit long ago abandoned. I told myself again that Arden had known me since I was 7, seen me in my play clothes, in a bathing suit, in all sorts of conditions, but he never seen me in a see-through nightie just before intimate relations. Yet he was my husband now. Why did I have to be so worried? I wouldn't end up dead under a golden rain tree, or on the floor, nor would he use his belt. Would he? 1 more minute, I reminded Arden. I'm holding you to your time limit, and no more excuses. His tone was so grim it scared me. He had never sounded so harsh before. Oh, it's just like Aunt Rosie Marie and Aunt Elizabeth and my mama said. You never know a man until you marry him. I'm watching it secondhand, he informed me. You've got 30 seconds now. If you're not out when you promise, I'm coming in. Even if I have to kick down that damn door, I'm coming in. I shrank back against the wall, my heart pounding as I panicked. I took a step closer to the door, said a quick prayer for the soul of my aunt, and asked her forgiveness for not attending her funeral. Time's up, he yelled. Stand back, I'm coming through. He'd hurt himself. He backed up and ran toward to slam his shoulder to that door. He kicked the door twice, but didn't budge. I heard him swear, and I guessed he was going to throw himself against the door next. Hurriedly, I turned the lock and threw open the door. It was his misfortune to hurl himself toward. At that very second, I swung the door inward. He slammed hard against the tile wall opposite the door. He crashed against it, then slid to the floor and lay there looking stunned and in terrible pain. Rushing forward, I knelt to hover over him. Oh, Arden, I'm sorry. So sorry. I didn't know you'd really try to break the door. To my surprise, he laughed and grabbed for me. He began to smother me with kisses. His words came between them. I've heard that brides can get stage fright, but Audrina, I thought you loved me. It's not as if we just met. Jerking away, I rose to my feet. Painfully, he stood too. I guess nothing is permanently damaged, he said with a good-natured grin. Tenderly, he took me in his arms and gazed gratefully into my eyes. You don't have to look so scared. All this is kind of fun anyway, like a farce. But I don't want our wedding night to be a farce. I love you, Audrina. We'll take it easy, go slow, and you'll be surprised at how naturally things come about. Lightly, he kissed me with his parted lips. Your hair looked great before. You didn't have to wash it again. Yet I've never seen you look so beautiful. And even if you do look terrified, you take my breath away. I'll be finished in a flash, he said, reluctantly parting and entering the bathroom. He didn't have to tell me that. I'd known all along he'd be finished in a flash. I'd have to endure this night and all the nights to come if I was to escape Papa and to find the physical rapport every woman was supposed to enjoy with the man she truly loved. Pulling off my nightgown that Arden hadn't even noticed, I slid between the sheets of that huge bed. Hardly had I arranged myself comfortably when Arden was opening the bathroom door, finished with his shower and what little else a man did to get ready for bed. Quickly he came to the bed, silhouetted briefly before the golden light behind him. To my horror, he wore nothing but a damp bath towel about his slim hips. Whatever dim light there was in the hotel room seemed to concentrate on his damp, skinny skin, forcing me to take notice of his maleness even when I didn't want to think about it. I just wanted this night over and done with as quickly as possible. I could have screamed from the casual way he took off that towel and tossed it aside. It missed the chair arm he aimed for and slid to the floor. Oh, it was already starting. All the sloppy things neat men did after they had a wife to pick up after them. You forgot to turn off the bathroom light. Because you turned off all the lights in here, and I like some light. I could open the draperies instead and let in the moonlight. He lingered by the bed as if wanting me to look him over in a pale, rosy nightlight he turned on. Darling, look at me. Don't keep your head turned. I've waited for this night for years and years. I've gone through all sorts of trouble to make my body muscular and attractive, and not once have you ever said anything to say that you've noticed. Do you ever notice anything about me except my face? I swallowed. Yes, of course I've noticed. Smiling, he put one knee on the bed. Alarmed at what I saw briefly before my eyes took flight again, I drew into a tighter knot and sighed an inch further away from the bed. Audrina, you're shivering. It's not cold in here. Don't be frightened. We love each other. I've kissed you, embraced you, and a few times I've dared a bit more and was quickly reprimanded. There's more to making love than all that combined. You knew what this is all about, I hope. Yes, I knew. Perhaps too much. I stared toward the window, sickeningly terrified. The faint and distant sound of thunder flittered into the room. With the approaching electrical storm came a new flood of terror, bringing with it visions of the dark woods overhung with leaden skies, like it had been in the first Audrina's room. I felt the ominous threat of what lay ahead. Rain, oh please God, don't let it rain tonight. Fraction by fraction he moved closer. I could see him in every pore. I breathed his special male aroma, felt his nakedness, felt my own vulnerability beneath my nothing nightgown. My thin skin to wake up and turn into a zillion antennas, each almost invisible hair quivering, warning me to do something and do it quickly. Back. I was going back to the rocking chair when it had frightened me, before I learned how to escape the horror of the woods. I felt myself rocking, heard a childish voice singing, saw the spiders spinning, saw the eyes of the stuffed animals glinting, heard the floorboards squeaking. The wind was blowing, and soon the lightning would flash and the thunder would crash. Arden said something sweet. Why couldn't I hear clearly? I love you, I heard him say again, his voice coming to me as through a dream. My heart thudded so loudly that I hardly heard him above the noise of all that was happening inside of me. Very close now, Arden turned on his side and tentatively put his hand to lightly touch my upper arm. His fingertips brushed the left side of my breast. Don't, I wanted to yell. I lay there speechless with fright, my eyes so wide they began to ache. What's the matter, he asked. Have you stopped loving me already, Audrina? An excuse came to me from one hole in my memory. I'm just so tired, Arden. It's been a long day. My aunt died this morning. Why can't you just hold me in your arms tonight and tell me you love me over and over again, and then perhaps I won't feel so ashamed? There's nothing to be ashamed of, he said lightly. You're feeling like lots of bread spills, so I've been told. Since you're my first, and I hope my last. I can't speak from experience. I wanted to ask him if I was the first girl he'd taken to bed, but I was afraid he'd say no. I wanted him to be just an experience as I was. Then contrarily, I wanted him to know exactly what to do to make me like what I was about to go through. If I really knew he'd waited to have sex with me first, that would prove he loved me enough. His fingers lightly trailed a pattern up and down my arm as he leaned above me, forcing me to close my eyes. Hadn't I heard my own mother say that boys were always more than ready than girls for sex? Joking with my aunt at the time, with Aunt Mercy Marie, too, as she sat there smiling at the piano. Now his hands dared more, venturing to fondle my breast before his fingers arrowed in more specifically, beginning to circle around and around my nipples, which were only lightly covered by the thin fabric. I shivered, cringed away, and mortally asked, "Have you ever had sex before? Did you have to ask that at this time, like this? Is it the wrong thing to ask? There are differences between men and women, some say. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. A woman can live out her life happily without sex, so I've heard. But a man with a build-up of sperm that has to be released in one way or another. The most pleasurable way is with the woman he loves. Loving and is sharing, Audrina. Sharing mutual pleasure, not pain, and not shame either. Did Billy tell you that to say that to me?" His two eager lips burned the hollow of my throat. "Yes, before we left the cottage, she took me aside and told me to be very tender and slow with you tonight. She didn't have to tell me that. I would have been anyway. I want to do everything right. Give me a chance, Audrina. Maybe it won't be as terrible as you're thinking it'll be." "Why are you saying that? Why do you think I'm thinking it'll be terrible?" "It's pretty obvious. You're like a violin with wires tuned so tight I can almost pluck your nerve endings and hear them swing. But it was you who came running to me today, wasn't it? You did throw yourself into my arms and say, 'Let's get married,' didn't you? You wanted to love today, not tomorrow or next week. So isn't it natural that I think that at last you are ready to accept me as your lover?" I hadn't thought. I just acted. Escape from Papa had been all that mattered. "Arden, you didn't answer my question." "What question? Am I the first?" "All right, if you have to know, there have been other girls, but none that I loved as I love you. Since I decided you were going to be the one I'd marry, I've not touched another girl." "Who is the first girl?" "Never mind," he said, with his face pressed. "You're so beautiful, so soft and sweet. Your skin is so smooth." He murmured, his breath coming faster, as if all that he did to me was all that he needed, and nothing I did or didn't do mattered at all. His hand was now beneath my bodice, cupping my breast, kneading it, molding it to the shape of his hand, as his lips came down hard on mine. I'd been kissed by him many times before, but not like this. Panic put me back in that rocking chair, made me a child again, and terrified of all that playroom, where awful things came inside and filled me with shame. The lightning flashed and made my nerves jump so that I bucked upwards. Arden took that for beginning passion, for his lust seized more, and shoestring straps in my nightie broke up as he pulled it down. Baring my breast for his lips and tongue to play with, I arched my neck and forced my head back into the pillow as I bit down on my lower lip to keep from screaming. I squeezed my eyes together and tried to endure the humiliation of everything he did. Inside I was crying and sobbing, just like when they'd ripped off the first Audrina's pretty new dress and torn off her silk underclothes. Crying. I was crying. And he didn't hear me or see my tears. My eyes popped open when the next thunder clapped. The lightning lit up the room enough for me to see his handsome face just above mine. All this touching, caressing, kissing was giving him pleasure while it gave me terror. I felt cheated and angry and ready to hurt him with my screams when he tugged off my nightgown and threw it away like a rag. They'd done that. His hands were all over me, finding everything but what he seemed to be seeking. I hated where he had his hands and was glad when he squirted himself as his fingers worked madly. Then he sighed and rolled on top of me, and I felt his hardness. Oh, the rocking chair. I was in that again, rocking to and fro. I saw the woods, heard the obscene words shouted, heard the laughter. But it was too late. I felt him jabbing into me, thick and hot and slippery wet. I fought to free myself, bucking, kicking, scratching. I clawed deep into the skin of his back, raked at his naked buttocks, but he didn't stop. He kept on jabbing, causing the same kind of shame, the same kind of pain as it had caused her. His face. Was that Arden's boyish face, with his hair plastered for his forehead, his eyes bulging as he stared before he turned and ran? No, Arden hadn't been there. Hadn't even been born then. He was just another, like them. That was all. All men are alike, all alike, alike. Blurrily, I was drifting, losing sense of reality. Aunt Elizabeth had been right when she said I was too sensitive and should never have led Arden on and allowed him to believe I would be the perfect wife. I couldn't be any kind of wife at all. His hot ejaculations came then. Scream, scream, but the thunder overhead muffled my cries. Nobody heard, not even him. I tasted my own blood on my lips from the bite of my teeth that tried to cut off the screams. Only Arden who loved me. This was the way physical love had to be. And one more last heaving thrust nearly ripped me apart. Then spinning off, all terror and shame faded. Blackness mercifully took me, and I felt nothing, nothing at all. Morning light wakened me. Sylvia was slouched in the corner of our bedroom, playing with her prisms, her nightgown riding up to her hips. With her vacant eyes looking at nothing, her lips parted in drooling, she crouched there as a limp dog. My husband rolled over, came awake, and reached for my breasts as they belonged to him. He kissed them first, then my lips. Darling, I love you so much. More kisses rained on my face, my neck, all over my naked body. At first you seemed so tight, so scared. Then all of a sudden you seized a hold of me and eagerly surrendered. Oh, Audrina, I am hoping you'd be like that. What was he saying? How could I believe his words when his eyes were pleading the way they were? Yet I allowed him to fake his satisfaction, realizing that he'd had some, while I'd had nothing but pain, shame, and humiliation. As far, far back in my perforated memory was the scent of blood, of damp earth, and the wet waves. And Audrina was stumbling home, trying to hold the shreds of an expensive dress together to cover her nudity.